This member of the carrot family is anything but good for the eyes, with reports of its sap causing temporary or even permanent blindness. This is definitely one plant you don't want to tangle with. This is the giant hogweed.
Hey, I'm Tasha the Amazon, and you're watching Floralogic. Today we're talking about Heracleum montagasianum, otherwise known by the way less fancy name, giant hogweed. And when I say giant, I mean giant.
This herbaceous flowering plant, named after Hercules himself, can reach staggering heights of 5 meters. That's as tall as a full-grown giraffe, and it's extra impressive considering it's supported by a single hollow stem, which can get as wide as 6 inches at the base.
Giant hogweed is native to the Caucasus Mountains of Georgia, the country, not the state, as well as Azerbaijan and southern Russia, where it can be found in meadows, clearings, around the edges of forests, and on or near riverbanks. It can even be found on the seashore.
Giant hogweed is a member of the Apiaceae family. This huge aromatic family of about 3,700 species, spread over 700 genera, has some high-profile members that you might have in your kitchen right now. Celery, carrots, dill, fennel, coriander, cumin, and caraway, just to name a few.
But just like the Skywalkers, the Apiaceae family also has a dark side.
Its more infamous members include a bunch of poisonous species, like poison hemlock, as well as some phototoxic members, like giant hogweed.
If you get the sap of the giant hogweed on your skin, it can make it wildly sensitive to sunlight.
Within 24 to 48 hours, you'll break out in nasty, weepy rashes and blisters that can even cause permanent scarring or discoloration. The sap is most toxic when the plant is flowering, but it's probably best to avoid this plant anytime.
If you get the sap in your eye, it can cause temporary or possibly permanent blindness.
Giant hogweed is a monocarpic perennial, meaning it flowers only once after being in a vegetative state for a long period of time. After it flowers, it dies.
The most famous monocarpic perennial is probably bamboo, which can stay in its vegetative state for up to 100 years. Giant hogweed doesn't get quite that elderly, but it will live between 2 and 12 years before it finally flowers and gives up the ghost.
Giant hogweed flowers, which are white or occasionally pink, are beautiful and massive, stretching up to 80 centimeters across. After they go to seed, each plant has tens of thousands of winged seeds that are taken away by the wind. Most plants want to send their seedlings far away, so they don't have to compete for the same light and resources. A study in Scotland showed, however, that 60 to 90% of the seeds landed within 13 meters of the parent.
So giant hogweed seeds take to the water.
Giant hogweed plants that are on or near rivers can use the currents to carry their seeds as far away from the parent plant as possible. These seeds can float for up to 2 days without sinking.
But even if they don't go far, seeds can stay viable in the soil for up to 7 years. So seedlings could theoretically repopulate an area long after their parent is dead and gone.
Giant hogweed can be found all over North America, where it's identified as an invasive, non-native species. Giant hogweed has existed on the North American continent since at least 1917 and was likely either introduced as an ornamental plant or accidentally in seeds from imported foods.
North America isn't the only place where giant hogweed has made itself a little too comfortable.
In the UK, it was planted in Kew Gardens in 1817, with reports that it had escaped to surrounding areas by 1828. In 1862, it was planted in today's Czech Republic, and by 1877, it was starting to invade. It's now spread all over Western Europe, Great Britain, and Ireland, as well as the US and Canada.
Giant hogweed is difficult to eradicate, and not just because of the blisteringly toxic sap. This giant is like the final boss in a video game.
Researchers cut some specimen 4 times a year for 2 years, and they didn't even die. Cutting the large taproot half a foot down below the soil is the only way to reliably kill this invader.
Given its Herculean scientific moniker, its strength and stamina really make you wonder if this plant isn't a demigod after all.